Welcome to the podcast where mental health is at the core of what we focus on. We strive to develop people like you to maximize who you are and what you've been called to do by sharing tools and resources for better brain health. And now here's your host, Juan Garcia.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. Thank you for joining us. I have the distinct pleasure of being joined by this group of guys that are so awesome. The guys from this up and coming podcast that you guys are the first to hear about. The guys from T.U.F.F Studios are in the house joining my podcast, Mind Yours. And they have their podcast coming up. It's going to be called T.U.F.F Talks, which is why I wanted to have them on, because I think that what we're going to talk about is definitely a tough talk. It's measuring the heartbeat of our communities right now. We're hurting. We are exhausted. We are feeling the pain from all of the different, issues, not only losing our brothers and sisters, the most recent incident with George Floyd, may he rest in power. Our prayers go out to the family, to the community and the world that's been affected by this unfortunate circumstance that the whole world got to see up front and close. And obviously we're praying for justice. We know that the guys have been arrested. We know that we still have to wait for that process. But nevertheless, man, we wanted to get together and start talking about this issue, because the four guys that are with me, joining me in the show, are in their 20s. And just to start off, guys, I don't know how much of your history you know in terms of this plight in America, but in the early 90s, right before you guys were born, we had an incident in LA, and a gentleman by the name of Rodney King, who was driving under the influence, but got pulled over, and 4 officers began to beat on him so badly that he was hospitalized, and eventually went to court, was able to settle with the city, but the city was in uproar. There were riots for 60 days. Over 20 people died from being shot by the police in the riots. And it was awful. It was awful. A couple of years later, we have the big case of what's called the chase with O.J. Simpson in a white truck. Eventually, he gets tried, but cleared. And so that also became an uproar, because it's almost like with Rodney King, the Black community was saying, we need justice. And then with O.J. Simpson being cleared and found not guilty, it was like the Black community was saying, see, we got one. And so it became kind of like a match of, who has the upper hand. And now it's 2020, and here we are again, having the same conversations, apparently no change. Apparently, it seems like the system is not working. We know that this is a systemic issue, and we know that when things are systemic, they can only change systemically. So before we dive in, I wanted all of you guys to introduce yourselves however you want, and we'll go from there. Let's start with Arnell, alphabetical order. Arnell Pearson in the house from P-Town.
Arnell Pearson from P-Town. I'm a 22-year-old college student. I graduate pretty soon. That's it.
What are you studying, Arnell?
I study computer information technology.
Okay, awesome. Brandon.
Hey guys, I'm Brandon Roberts. I'm 22 years old. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey. I'm going to college to be a journalist.
Awesome.
I'm trying to be a sports writer or a manga writer, just like that.
All right, gotta connect you with some buddies. Edwin.
Hello, my name is Edwin Ortiz. I am a 23-year-old, and I'm studying biblical studies. And yeah.
And you're the oldest one in the group.
Yes, I am.
And last but certainly not least, from from P-Town and also from my loins, if you know what I mean.
All right.
Jordan.
From my lawn.
Hey, can you can y'all hear me all right? Can y'all hear me all right? I was having a little trouble with the mic.
Got
That
you.
mic is
Yeah, we
nice.
Y'all hear me?
good.
All right, cool. Yeah, Jordan Garcia. This is my father. Unfortunately, it's like nah. But yeah, Silk City relative, Silk City resident, and 22 years old. Not in school, but pursuing a basketball career, and also riding this Tough Talks podcast with my boys out here to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, not in school, but he's schooling some cats out in the courts, if
You
you
feel
know
me?
what we're talking about.
You feel me?
So I just found it very important for us to kind of get together. Usually when we're together, we just bug out and have some fun. It's all love. You guys are like family, and or always invited to our home, and we always have a good time. And so I felt like let's use this platform to voice our concern, voice our frustration, our aggravation with what's happening. And I just wanted to throw this question out for you guys, and obviously you guys chime in however you want. But I mean, how are you guys feeling? Have you guys specifically spoken to someone or a group of people that you felt you can trust in voicing how you feel without any kind of resistance on their part? And what was that like?
I have on a different number of occasions. Um, Mostly, obviously people of color, where we just hear each other out and how we feel about what's going on, and just you know understanding what is actually going on with all the injustice and how corrupted it can be out there. Like some people might not realize it, but when you see stuff like what happened with George Floyd and previous cases, that you start to understand, like, all right, there's something going on, there's something wrong. And it's just really like a heart to heart, and just picking from each other's minds, where we're at with the situation, and just how we feel about it in general.
Yeah. How about you, Brandon? Have you been able to find that safe space to say, "Man, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm frustrated," and be able
Mm-hmm.
to voice that?
Yes, actually, with Jordan.
Okay.
When it first started, we talked about it, and I didn't like how it happened, because from with the video, I was just upset, frustrated. But I've been talking to Jordan about it, or Nell about it. We always talk about it, and it's
Talk about
you know,
everything.
yeah, talk about everything. This is crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like from the standpoint of the protest, I love it. Like, I feel like everybody's voice should be heard.
Hmm.
Everybody's had the right to talk. This, and I like it. I like it.
Arnell, what do you say?
I've had conversations with people of different races, from my friends to family members to fellow coworkers, and I just like being able to see the viewpoint from different perspectives, from people
Mm.
looking in to the black community, from people within the black community, and you hear different opinions. Some people are with the protests and riots, some people aren't with the protests and riots, but it seems as though everybody wants the same goal. I feel like we all have to come together and decide what that process is going to be to get to that goal. But I feel like I've been able to talk about it with family members and my dad, and express my feelings toward what is happening, what has been happening. I'm glad that we're starting to see more and more action. All four officers were arrested. One's being charged with second-degree murder. So
Yeah.
that's good, but we don't want it to be a one-time thing just for us to chill or calm down, and then it goes back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And man, we have a long way to go, but definitely seeing some glimpses of hope and potential change. And I think the change has to be sustainable, right? That it's long term. It's not a quick
Yeah,
fix, not
exactly.
another hashtag, right? I mean, as powerful as those are to get the word spread out, I mean, next thing you know, it was Trayvon, then it was it was Mike Brown, and then it's just like let's get this over with in terms of how these individuals are being mistreated, and obviously I personally want to say that it's more than a police issue. I think it's a human issue. I think behind these badges and these guns, some of these police officers that have made these choices to mistreat and use prejudice and stereotypical approaches with Black and brown people, they're humans that they have issues. They have obvious issues that they take advantage of their power and authority to instill it in our communities, and that has to stop. That has to be changed. Edwin, I wanted to ask you. I know in your school you have a big diversity. You have people from all walks of life. Tell me a little bit about how you're feeling. What does that look like for you? What input can you give in terms of how we can make this sustainable change?
Yeah, when I originally first saw the clip of George Floyd, it really actually brought me to tears because I was by myself watching it, and I've spoken to Jordan and Brandon and even Arnell about it, and even my own family. Um, Again, like getting different perspectives from people, like is good to like get different like perspectives from people. And I in terms of like the cops, I feel like there needs to be some drastic change in terms
Mm,
of how one becomes a cop, like the process of becoming a police officer. Like you put on the badge to protect people. Bottom
right,
line, like you
right.
like to become a cop is to protect the people and to ensure safety. And the events that occurred with George Floyd is a direct backwards like outlook on that. Is a direct opposite of that.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm in the medical field as a mental health professional, and the number one job for medical or physician, a medical professional, is to ensure a patient's safety, right? And it's amazing how it doesn't translate into law enforcement for whatever reason. They We're just having this issue, ongoing issue. They're not protecting our people. They're not protecting us, and it's heartbreaking, frustrating, and our podcast is called Mind Yours, so we focus on mental health. This is why I wanted to make sure that we had a platform to do this, so that you guys can feel free to just speak your mind and say this is not okay, which you have started doing that already. Another question I wanted to ask. One of the things that we continue to see is, in the protests, we have mixed, right? We have mixed issues, people expressing mixed positions of how they feel. And one of the things I shared in my previous podcast was personal stories. So I wanted to give you guys a platform, if you can, in a couple of minutes, share a personal story that you can tie to some of the injustices and stereotypes that perhaps you've experienced personally. I know we're all from Paterson, New Jersey, which is a very diverse community, and so
Mhm.
the you know the chances of experiencing that are not as great as in some of the places. Like right now, I'm in South Carolina in the upstate, and I can see some of that in my everyday walk here, wherever I go. And so, if you feel comfortable sharing some of your experiences, or at least one specific experience that made you aware yourself that there is a bigger issue here, whoever wants to go. Or now, can
I'll
you think
start
of
off.
one? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start it off. I feel like as a black person in this country, in this city, mm, my experiences are synonymous with a lot of people. From the regular, just walking into stores, being followed around the stores, to being asked questions that regular customers don't usually get asked.
Hmm.
I remember when I first, around when I first got my car, I was driving in Prospect Park, and the cop was parked on the corner, so I couldn't really like go past him straight. So I had to turn a little bit to get past him. I guess I got too close to his car because he followed me down and pulled me over.
Mm.
As he's walking into the car, I hear him on his radio canceling the backup that he called already before he even took my name, information, anything. He's canceling the backup. He walks to the car. He asks me for my information, and he sees that I'm a little nervous. So he asks, like, "Oh, you're nervous? You're nervous?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. You know, I'm just trying to make it out of the situation."
Right.
I said, "Okay." He's like, I'm gonna let you off." He gave me a ticket for obstruction of view because the thing that holds my phone in the car, it was
Mm.
like in the middle of the
Yeah.
dashboard. So he gave me a ticket for obstruction of view. But like, I didn't do anything wrong traffic wise. I didn't do anything wrong criminally. So I felt like he pulled me over just because he could pull me over.
Mm.
And
So
I've experienced. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, what are, like, what are some of the emotions, and how do you not, snap, right? Because I mean, obviously, he has a gun, you don't, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
all right, it's kind of unfair, but how do you compose yourself so that you can not
Well,
only get out of there alive, but not make it worse?
being 22 and black, I feel like me, Brandon, other black friends that we know, our parents have conditioned us from a young age to what to do, what to
Yeah.
say, what not to do, what
Yeah.
not to say, what not to wear. So it's like when you get to that point, like you already know what to do. You can just hope for the best.
Mm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
I've been trained since like 12. Like, oh, don't wear a hoodie in the car. Don't wear a hat in the car. When the cop
Yeah.
talks to you, speak to him with respect. Don't yell. Don't aggravate the situation. So it's like I'm upset in the situation, but I've already been programmed to know that if I explode or blow up or try to voice my opinion, I could lose my life.
Mm.
So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you're limited to
yeah,
be somebody that you may not be,
yeah,
just to appease those that may not see you for who you are, right?
hmm,
Because you're not a black man. You're a person. You're a human being,
yep,
right? And you just happen to be clothed with this darkness, right? That's beautiful, and it's unfortunate because not everybody sees it that way. So, man, Brandon, you want to share a story? Quick story?
Yes. I'll say that like walking into stores is different, or walking around anywhere is different, because I always feel like people look at me a certain way just because, like, the color of my skin. I haven't really, gone through any personal, you know, anything, anything like
Like
akin
encounters?
to racism. Yeah, encounters, anything like
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I'm blessed to, like,
Yeah.
stay away from everything, stay out of that. But I'm also precautious to know what to do in those situations, what to say, whatnot. So I just feel like very blessed, very blessed.
Yeah. Amen. Anybody else want to add to that?
So,
Oh,
oh,
yeah, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Evan. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So for me personally, I've never like had anyone or any type of like racism towards me because I'm Spanish. But because of that fact, it pains me even more
Mm.
to see people who are like taken advantage of and put down
Hmm.
because of that fact that they look different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't understand. My brain can't comprehend the fact that why are they different?
Mm.
That doesn't make sense. They're people.
Right.
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 Jordan,
That's
you
what
were
it
gonna
No,
is.
say?
and to piggyback off of that, I've never experienced anything like that. But if you pinpoint the key words Arnell and Brandon has chosen to describe what they've gone through, being programmed, being trained,
Yeah.
Yeah.
feeling like something could go wrong, like that's just sad to hear that at a young age, people that I consider my brothers, my best friends, have to go through this, and I have no idea what it feels like. So it's like, even
Right.
though, we do things together, and we go places together, we experience different things together, I will never experience what they go through because of the color of our skins. That
Mm.
that for whatever reason, there's a divide between us in that aspect alone, because they're black, which
Right.
is a stigma that we need to get away from, and that's causing all of these issues because of the fact that, well, he's this way and you're not, and that's why I'm going to him this way.
Right.
And that's going to justify what's going to happen next because they're like this and you're not. So
it's crazy because it's also like a value system, right? You're less valuable because you're black. Hence,
Yes.
who, you know, all of those that are lighter skinned, white, are of more value for whatever reason. Society has convinced themselves that this is true, and that is not okay. That is not okay. We all bleed the same color of blood. We all have the same organs inside of us. We all have brains. Some of us choose to use it more than others. Let's just put that out there. And it's not okay because when it has to be with the cost of a life, that is not okay. And in this podcast, we are establishing that across the board, that it is not okay to profile, to have any type of prejudice, stereotype, or racism against any type. That goes for my black and brown brothers and sisters against whites because of their ignorance at times. We shouldn't be racist against them either, right? Because two wrongs don't make a right. It just doesn't add value at all. And it just, what it does actually, it adds the conflict that really doesn't get resolved because now we're trying to figure out, well, who's it less of a racist than the other one is, and that doesn't make sense. So we have a couple of minutes left in the podcast. I just want to kind of wrap up with some of the solutions that you guys may have real quick. If each of you can take maybe a minute at most and kind of let us hear what are your thoughts. I know Edwin shared a little bit about the police onboarding, right? How do we better kind of figure out how to get them to be more, I mean, because you can't pick out a racist just because they applied to something, because that's not one of the options on the application, right? You know, white, racist, hate blacks, you know, that's not there. So we don't know who we have in our midst. So what are some of your suggestions, if you will?
I'd like to go first.
Yes, sir.
Because I want to say what Edwin said. I feel like the training for a cop should be longer instead of 6 months. I feel like if you really want to become a cop and if you really are dedicated to this, you should go through longer training. So that shows like, all right, these are the people who want to serve and protect rather than the ones that just want to become a cop and get a job or, you know, do whatever.
Yeah.
And secondly, I feel like with the protests and everything, I feel like that's helping too. Because so many people are letting it be heard, their voices heard, and it's like, all right, little by little, you know, you see the Democrats kneeling and stuff like that. So it's like little by little, change could happen, and I feel hopeful for it.
Awesome. Arnell, what do you think?
I think that for us to see change has to happen on both sides. I feel like with the police, they have to be trained just as hard as it would be to join the military, join the army. I feel like only the best of the best should make it at the end. If it's a class of 100, 97 shouldn't graduate. I feel like.
Wow.
I feel like like people are gonna mess up somewhere where they should be kicked off. So I feel like that needs to happen. I feel like on the other side of it, from the black community, I feel like our unity has to grow. We have to realize how strong and powerful we are in this country. How powerful we are financially, how we move the culture, how we influence hip hop, sports, all that. We have to realize the value that we bring and what we can do with that. We have to use that as leverage as any way we can. And me personally, I like the protests. I'm iffy about the riots as well because like I understand the frustration, but I don't necessarily agree with destroying unnecessary things, especially things that if they get destroyed, it brings no change to anything anyway. Like, destroying a target doesn't bring anything.
And it's stuff that we use, right? That we need.
Yeah.
So don't mess up my target, man. I need a shot. Yeah. Edwin, you want to say something else besides what you already have said with the police?
I feel that like Arnell has said, I actually like the protesting, because it takes people to like come together to make a change. Because if no one does anything, then nothing will happen. No change will occur. So I'm just a shout out to all the people who are actually leaving their homes and protesting to keep
Yeah.
doing that, because it is working. It like change only happens when you make a change.
That's right. Well said. Well said. Jordan, you want to close us out with your thoughts on this?
Yeah. Me personally, I'm all about keeping the peace. I'm not one to you know, be going at someone with violence or retaliation. So I guess what I think would help change, especially with social media, is just protecting yourself. And I don't mean protect yourself in a way where you have to fight back to protect yourself, but follow the guidelines to where you don't give them any excuse to make it look right, quote unquote, make it that it looked like they were doing this, or I assume that they were doing this. Make sure you just keep yourself safe in these instances, because with social media, everyone is recording.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to get some type of footage that will leak out, and it will pick out and separate the people that we need to handle and get rid of. So just because you can't control how people react, so you can only control how you act.
Right.
So if you keep yourself in a manner where you just, and I understand that there are instances where African Americans and Black people, they keep that in mind and they stick to that, and it's also taken advantage of no matter
Right.
what.
Yep.
But the best part about social media is that they catch everything that the media itself, like the news, won't show. It shows the behind the footage, behind the scenes things for you guys. So that, and when things like this happen, the government or the people in power, whoever's in charge, needs to address it immediately. That is something that shouldn't have to get to the extent of Black Lives Matter being a trend,
Right.
where it can backlash on the people in power, that it'll make them look bad. Then like, okay, let me start doing something now so it can calm down. Like, no, like this was murder, and murders have been happening year after year, time after time. When it happens, deal with it and nip it in the butt. Take control of it and let's make a change, because at this point, people are tired.
Yeah, for sure. And let's keep in mind, we are in a democracy. That means that the people in power that you're talking about, Jordan, those are people that we voted in.
Right.
Those are people that have power because we gave it to them.
Right.
And so we can demand that they give us what we need, which is justice. And we speak our minds. We vote, and we say consciously, we are voting for you because we know that you will have the power that you need to enforce the law. And in cases like this, the law states you cannot kill a person, handcuff them, put them on the ground, and then get on top of them. That I don't care what color they are. You just cannot do that. This is a human being, and we deserve better. So well said, guys. Thank you for sharing your hearts, your minds. To wrap up, I'll share a quick story with me. You guys may or may not know, but I am married, and it is a biracial marriage. So our son Jordan is actually mixed, and so
low key,
yeah. And we were in a town not too far from where we live, in Bergen County, and for the first time in that area, I actually felt profiled. I was on a date with my wife. We went to a restaurant, pretty upscale restaurant. And I guess people that were dining outside of the restaurant, I guess they didn't feel that I should have been there, or that I should have afforded to eat in these restaurants that were there. And I've experienced this before in other places. So, you kind of rub it off and you try to smile, and you don't give them, like Jordan was saying, don't give them a reason to, call the police and say, oh my God, I feel threatened. But for the first time, my wife actually experienced it because she noticed, and she had not noticed before. I had told her many times, I've experienced this, experienced that. For the first time, she noticed it, and she was so upset. And I said, honey, this is a reality. And I'm Hispanic. I am Afro Latino. So I am not considered Black like you guys are. And I still get a little bit of that. So my heart goes out to all of my brothers and sisters. We need to do better. We are going to do better. We demand change. We are people that can make a change. And I'll sum it up with this. I think what Martin Luther King Jr. said, of so many quotes, he said it best. He said, darkness cannot drive out darkness, right? And the only way that we can really, really make sustainable change is to shine our light and love the heck out of these people, right? Mm-hmm. Even with the anger. And love is a choice, it's not an emotion. So we can still be angry and still choose love, to love them in spite of themselves, in spite of their ignorance, and say, we don't like what you're doing, but we're going to love you into change because we demand it. So guys, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. Remember,
thank you for having us.
We all have a mind, so mind yours. We'll see you next time. Take care, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mind Yours, as well as our podcast on every platform, Mind Yours. Also, the guys can be found on YouTube, T.U.F.F. Studios. That's T.U.F.F.
Thank you for tuning in to our podcast. For more information, visit our website at juangarciaenterprises.com. Our host, Juan Garcia, is available for speaking, coaching, and one-on-one counseling. You can email us at info@juangarciaenterprises.com. Until next time, remember, we only have one mind, so mind yours.